This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. Glad to have you with us today. We begin a multi-month series where we are going to spend this new year looking at some challenges facing lower income Arkansans, lower income folks in the region. The phrase you may hear is asset limited, income constrained, and employed, ALICE for short. And I have two experts with me today to talk about this. I have Dr. Karama Neal with Southern Community Partners and Patty Riddlebarger with Entergy Corporation. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what ALICE is. You guys throw ALICE around like it's a person, like it's obviously it's a group of people, but what does it mean to be asset limited, income constrained, and employed?
So I'll start this, I guess, and let Patty chime in as well. This is a United Way phrase, and I think it really helps expand the notion of folks who may be economically challenged. So if we think of people who are employed, so they are working, but their income is constrained. They don't have enough income to meet their everyday needs, the needs of themselves and their families. And then because they're asset constrained as well, because they're asset limited, they may not have enough assets to fall back on if they have an economic shock.
What are some of the characteristics of this universe of people?
So it basically describes vulnerable households in a way that's much more comprehensive than just the poverty level. We're used to talking about the poverty level, and that's, one thing. But there is a whole host of families who are just above the poverty level, who are struggling and are maybe one paycheck away, one emergency room visit away from what
maybe
could
one
become
government furlough away from
exactly
a paycheck away.
What could become a financial disastrous situation. So ALICE is a national project. It started with the United Way of New Jersey and has since spread to about 15 or 16 states. Entergy is involved in those states where Entergy operates. So we've been a lead sponsor and supporter of the ALICE project in Louisiana since 2014. And now we're happy to see it coming to Arkansas. We're also in conversations with Mississippi. They're going to do their first ALICE report later this year, and then Texas also.
I'm not looking for specifics statistically, but how large is this universe of people? They've obviously been defined by the acronym that we're using right here, but how big is this group of people, perhaps in Arkansas?
Well, one way I like to think about it, this is obviously why we're excited to have the report come out so that we can get some real data and have that data drive our solutions. But if you look at the median income in Arkansas, it's about $42,000. Median household size is about 2.5 people. But if you look at some of the studies of family supporting wages, what it would take for maybe a single earner to support him or herself and two children, that's about $52,000 around the state of Arkansas. Some of the data around living wage and family supporting wage says. So that suggests that more than half of the folks in Arkansas might fall into some kind of category like this. Of course, when we get the data, we'll know a little bit more about what that means.
In Louisiana, it was 48% of households in Louisiana do not make enough money to afford what they call a basic household survival budget, which are just the basic necessities of food, rent, transportation, health care, those basic things that you need to survive.
Tell me a little bit about the report, who's doing it, and what are the questions that you're asking to I guess, learn more about this universe?
So the ALICE, they have a particular methodology that they use, and so they use that standard methodology adapted to the particular places where they're looking. And maybe I'll see if Patty knows a little bit more since they've done that.
It's U.S. Census data that they use to develop the data, and they have a set of the metrics that they identified what goes into a basic household budget. You can go online at thealicreport.com, and it's got all of that information is detailed.
What questions do you want to see the report answer? You talked about there's some potential policy solutions that will come out of it. It's obviously gone on in some other states, so there's probably some ideas of what type of solutions may be out there. Will there be some things that will be more Arkansas specific as a result of that? What do you want to see this survey answer for you?
I think we'd like to understand something about scale. We want to know how many people in Arkansas could benefit from some of the solutions. We'd like to understand what some of the solutions might be. So if you think about the ALICE acronym, we think about assets, we think about employment, we talk about income. And there are lots of different ways to get at each of those three areas. And you can imagine solutions that address each of those or more than one at the same time. And so I think as we get the data in, as we understand how asset limited, how income constrained, what employment means to the people of Arkansas, that will give us some options as to what our solution should be.
And there's a role to play for nonprofits, there's a role to play for governments, there's a role to play for business. So once you see the data, you look at the solutions and then you can identify who the players are and what roles can they play in addressing the problem.
One of the things that we have talked about, and it's been more anecdotally in Arkansas, I know Randy Zook at the State Chamber of Commerce has talked about this a lot. There's a lot of open positions in businesses right now, but there's just not that match between the skill set of workers who may be underemployed or unemployed or even employed and looking to get to a better place. Where do you feel like the solution is for that? Is it a little bit of everybody's got to be a part of that, or is it something that should be more employer-based?
I think there's a role for a number of different organizations and institutions, but perhaps the biggest role is business, and that's one of the main things that business can do in addressing the challenges that Alice and Alice families face, which is investing in workforce development. Entergy has identified 4 key ways that businesses can get involved in supporting Alice households. The reason we do that is because Alice comprises a big chunk of our customers. Our customers are Alice, and so if they're struggling to pay their bills, that likely means that they're struggling to pay their utility bill, and we want to do everything we can to help them be in a position where they're economically self-sufficient. So the 4 key ways that we've identified that business can be involved in is first, recognizing that Alice is in your workforce. So even if you're an employer like Entergy that pays a good living wage, from time to time you may have employees who find themselves in a situation where they're in a crunch. And recognizing that that situation exists and partnering with nonprofits in your community to make sure that you can connect resources to your employees, people in your own workforce who need them. That's one thing that business can do. The second thing is to invest in workforce development. Entergy has a five-year, $5 million commitment to support our communities with training, support developing the programs that people who are underemployed need to step into those jobs.
Community
that you
specific.
mentioned.
So, for instance, in say Eastern Arkansas, you might do something that's more agricultural based, or
every state, we're looking at it state by state, depending on what the issues and the needs are in those particular communities. So. We've already launched in Louisiana, in Mississippi, and Texas, and we're in the planning stages right now for Arkansas.
I cut you short. There were 2 other things for business.
So the third way that business can be involved is in identifying those programs and solutions that are proven, that have a proven track record for helping families get out of poverty. One of the things that Entergy has done is we've identified EITC as one of those main areas.
Earned income tax credits.
Earned income tax credits, yes. So we sponsor about 300 VITA sites, which are volunteer sites where people can go and get their taxes done for free and also receive their EITC benefits if they are eligible. We sponsor those sites, we support those efforts because it puts money back into the pockets of our customers, back into our local economies. So that's another area. And then the 4th area that business can be involved is in lending our voice in the policy, in the policy arena. So policy is really where systemic change happens, and business has a big voice in that arena, and we can bring our influence to bear.
You're going to get a big chance to do that in the Arkansas legislature coming up. As a matter of fact, they're talking about tax reform. The governor has a proposal to lower the top income tax rate in the state, but there is still a pretty large contingency out there that supports the EITC credit up there. You think you guys might be involved a little bit in that debate?
Well, we absolutely going to be following that. I mean, that's something that we support. Southern has been, it's really about economic mobility. That's why we were founded. And so we feel like the EITC, just as Entergy does, and Patty mentioned, is a real key factor in helping people be able to support themselves and their families.
There's some push to carve out some exemptions in the minimum wage up at the state legislature. Might we see Southern involved a little bit in
we feel like
that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited that the people of Arkansas have voted to increase the minimum wage. I mean, we just talked about being income constrained, and so we think that that's something that we really need to follow, and so we'll be following it.
I don't think you can speak for Entergy on that subject. I'm
no.
going to let you off the hook on that, Patty. So,
I won't go there.
all right. Thank you both very much. I know that we will have more to talk about, and we will be tracking this issue in some future conversations. Karama and Patty, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. Thanks for tuning in.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.